Speaker, I can only repeat what I said earlier with respect to the amendment to the Dividend Act, which is that this is another progressive piece of legislation which creates more space for justice for the citizens of Ghana. And I hope that this will be conveyed in a very forceful and aggressive Guyanese people. That this government is committed to constantly recreating and creating space so that the Guyanese, high or low, can have justice within this system that we have operating in Ghana. And that the pieces of legislation that we bring to this House will be progressive and democratic in nature. And this bill that we have before us, Mr. Speaker, is in keeping with that policy of the government. Both sides of the House have adopted position. The opposition has adopted a position not to support any bill brought by this minister in this House. The government side has adopted a position that the minister will proceed with bills passed by the cabinet. But this House. Mr. Speaker, laws are to be taken by both sides. We take our blows, the opposition will take their blows, as is one for politicians to do. I have no information, intelligence, or otherwise that the opposition will vote in favor of this bill. My detailed sources have not provided me with that. Whatever the situation might be, Mr. Speaker, this is not a question of casting my thought to determine whatever will be. But, Mr. Speaker, to vote against this bill, I can only say, is to side with persons who are bent on criminal enterprise. A strong signal must be sent from this House. A strong signal must be sent from this House. A unanimous, united signal. Forget about it. What is of importance is the signal that we're sending from the House to persons who are intent on criminal enterprise. That a bill of this type will throw another spanner in the works of those who study to continue not only engaging in criminal activity, but using the 8192, 8160, the preferred vehicles of the criminal to commit crimes. And Mr. Speaker, you know, crime has a very interesting way of making circles. Maybe one. When one of us in this very House, having had a duty-free vehicle given to us by Washington DNS, stolen one day from us by a criminal or a gang, and found that vehicle was in the commission. And in the absence of this legislation, even the brightest minds will not be able to find justice. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend this bill to the House. I wish to appeal to the opposition, notwithstanding the position that they've taken. Respected Minister, I'm not begging for you, sir. I don't need to beg. I stand here as a representative of the people. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend this bill to the House. And the least that I can do on behalf of my constituents is to appeal to the opposition, to the good sense of the opposition, to support this bill in order to ensure that the criminal enterprise in this country are prevented from using others and including this measure to commit further crimes in their sector.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Your sentiments are noted. Honourable members, I will now put the question, and that is that it will be read for a second time. And those in favour say aye. Aye. Any vote against?
No.
Division. Division is sought. We have the division bill, and then we will take the vote.
By the way, incidentally, Mr. Speaker, I guess you must have noted that those that the opposition bench are moderate, not as energetic and as enthusiastic. And I'm trying to figure out from my detailed sources what is the reason for that. But I'll get around to that eventually. By the next sitting, I'll get around to it. But to treat the Guyana Fire Service as a manner in which the opposition was treating the evidence after and the previous bills, motor vehicles and traffic amendment. You know what the fire service is basically a humanitarian service. Notwithstanding the fact that so many people make allegations about the fire tender right away from water, just virtually a myth. Yes, it's a myth. Fire service, and when you follow the activities of firefighters around the world, take for example 9/11 and the heroic role played by firefighters. Not only in that experience, but in other countries as well. I think, Mr. Speaker, to treat the Guyana Fire Service in the mode in which previous bills were, would be a great result for the organization. I see the fire service as basically a humanitarian service. Many people call in the fire service for different services. Outing fire, extinguishing fire, getting into a house that is locked from the inside, doing so many other things that are basically humanitarian. A car in an accident plunged into a trench with the driver and the passengers locked inside. It is the firefighters who call to rescue. And that is why in many parts of the world, the fire service is known also as a rescue service. You may laugh at it, you may scoff at it. But you have hundreds of firefighters out there who are listening and watching to see how you make They have families, they have friends, they have constituents. I'm happy to see it. Back to your own yourself. When the opposition is quiet, I get worried. So, Mr. Speaker, they change of name when you got a fire service. I think there are a lot of people in this country, in this house and outside this house, who have relationships with the fire service. Who have relationships. So, Mr. Speaker, many years ago, British Guyana Fire Brigade and Ambulance Service was a good example to show the humanitarian side of this operation when it had an ambulance service. This house, and I must say that I thank the opposition when we presented the budget a few months ago, and they passed, they gave their approval to the budget for the Guyana Fire Service, which in there was an allocation for the procurement of 4 ambulances for the Guyana Fire Service. The intention there is to rebuild the ambulance service of the Guyana Fire Service, which was there before. We're now seeking to restore it. So that the fire service, the rescue service, or fire and rescue service, is going on to be demonstrated with the restoration of the ambulance service of the Guyana Fire Service, which was there since colonial times. But because of the economic difficulties which the country went through, in the late 60s, the 70s, and up to the mid-80s, the ambulance aspect of the fire service was removed, done away with, and the fire service was left to hobble, so to speak, on money. Because the economy is doing better, Mr. Speaker, because the economy is doing better, we are now in a position to build a service that not only has to do, or doesn't only have to do with extinguishing fire, but providing a service, rescue service, humanitarian service. And I believe it would be heartless. It would be heartless. We have to be the soul brothers of the Guyana Fire Service. To provide with the support. Because these people suffer for this, to consider whether they should move from just a simple service, fire service, to fire and rescue service. And having sat down and considered this move in that direction, Mr. Speaker, I believe we should support the fire service. How could we oppose the Guyana Fire Service? And what come? Because of Rohi? Because he took a position on the Linden shooting that Rohi must go and be not supporting the fire service? This is bigger than Rohi. This is bigger than Rohi. I love it even more. I love it opposed to it, or some of you are opposed to it. And history will absorb. History will absorb that. History will condemn. Were you to take a position of not supporting a humble and a noble organization such as the Guyana Fire Service? Firefighters are held in high esteem all over the world.
They are paid much more.
High esteem. Fire service has not made representation to me for that. Because they think beyond that. They think beyond that.
They're affected by the members of the historic level.
Mr. Speaker,
On the same level though, on the fight.
I think the service, the fire service, irrespective of how much I may say or how long I may speak, the fire service itself has made, by force of example, the service itself has made representation by force of example, by dint of hard work, sacrifice, that they deserve this name. And I therefore, Mr. Speaker, wish to commend this name to this house, that the Guyana Fire Service be the Guyana Fire and Rescue Service. And therefore wish to have
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the facts are that what this bill is attempting to do is to have the fire service return to its old self. The first attempt of fire service establishment in Guyana was on the 12th of October 1987. And at that time, we had formed the British Guyana Fire Brigade and Ambulance Service under the Fire Brigade Ordinance number 7 of 1957. And so the attempt by the Honorable Minister and the Ministry of Home Affairs is to have the fire service reverting to its original role when it was established in 1957. In 1980s or thereabouts, sometime between 80 and 85, the government sought to de-emphasize the ambulance service within the aspect of the fire service. And the responsibility was given to the Ministry of Health, primarily the public hospital, to run the ambulance service. That those are the facts and the history of the fire service in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, all Commonwealth countries and Caribbean countries, if you examine the role of the fire services, it is beyond outing fires. And that is the reason why the attempt here is to have the fire service name change to the Fire and Rescue Service, because it goes beyond outing fires. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Trinidad and Tobago, you would see they have Fire and Rescue Service, New Zealand, French Guyana, USA. And so it is not something unique. And as I said earlier, it is not inventing something. It is something that was there before and was changed in the 80s. Mr. Speaker, fire service through the world, fire services rather, they have been engaging in activities other than fire service, firefighting. As indicated by the Honorable Minister, road accident emergencies. We that look at television, we would see that when there is an accident, you will see the EMS and you will also see the fire service rendering assistance. For that matter, there are some accidents, the only entity that can extricate the injured from the vehicle is the fire service. The only entity who has the equipment, necessary equipment, to extricate the person from a vehicle in certain type of accidents, it is the fire service. And so, road accidents, fire service are involved in land and rescue search and rescue operations. Structural collapses, a house fall down, is the fire service who would have to intervene. They participate in emergency medical services. Aircraft emergencies, rescues, the fire service. For countries where they are prone to earthquakes, the fire service. Hurricane disasters, countries that are prone to them. Countries that are prone to typhoon disasters, etc. And so, the fire service must be seen as just some men and women trained to how a fire and to investigate after a fire. If you have chemical spills, it is the fire service that are called upon to work. And for us in Guyana, who we're thinking about getting involved with the activities of petroleum, we would want and need to have a fire service that is well equipped and prepared to deal with the new situations that will occur. Mr. Speaker, presently, Mr. Arman, the fire service, if you read the present act, some of the activities that they should be doing, they are incapable of doing those activities. Mr. Speaker, as I understand it, the fire service presently, our fire service, Guyana Fire Service, preparing for the added roles that they have to play. They did not sit down and wait. As I understand it, the fire service by the Ministry of Home Affairs, they have already sent persons overseas and otherwise to be trained to deal with the new situation that they will have to confront beyond firefighting. The other issue, I would say, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the Guyana Fire Service, that will become the Fire and Rescue Service if this bill is passed, accepted and passed, are in a better position, in my view, to run an ambulance service. Why I say that is because it is a regimental organization that is filled with discipline. And so, the situation that we have presently regarding the service, I believe.
Are you saying that your ministry is not
Mr. Speaker, it is evident to all Ghanaians that presently what entails need to be complemented, supplemented, upgraded. All of us, we live here. And so I am saying that the intervention of the Ministry of Home Affairs is timely and is important. That is the reason why all of us in this House should support the intention and the bill that is before us. And so, Mr. Speaker, I have sought to indicate to the National Assembly the fact that we are attempting to have the fire service revert to the role that they were established to perform in 1957, to deal with more than fire, to be involved in rescue, to have a efficient and effective ambulance service. So, Mr. Speaker, the fire service name change bill that is before us, I would submit that all of us, in my humble opinion, should support the bill and to seek to help the fire service and its members develop beyond where they're at, as I said earlier, in my discourses with the fire service leadership. They have indicated that they are
Honourable members, there's someone in the chamber who has a cell phone, who's allowing it to just ping without any regard for rules, and I'm hearing it. It's just going ping, ping, ping. So whoever this, could you please just silence it or shut it off? But it's not hearing. Even as I'm speaking, I'm hearing it. Even as I'm speaking, I am hearing it. And it seems to be coming from the left. Sorry, Mr. Ahmed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I have said, I have tried to, in my brief remarks here, capture the real role of a fire service in a modern society. It is beyond outing fires. It is, as I have outlined, and as the fire service members, they have gone with the necessary training, first aid training. They have gone for the training for the necessary emergencies that they will have to deal with in the future. And we, Mr. Speaker, we, as indicated by the Minister of this National Assembly, just several weeks ago, we voted the necessary provision to equip the fire service with 4 ambulances to begin the exercise, this National Assembly. And so I suspect, recognizing that, one, that we were reporting to where we started in 1957, and secondly, recognizing that we have already voted provision for the fire service to be involved in this role, extending their scope and their name to the fire and rescue service. I therefore will urge that all of us, we support the necessary name change and the activities that will follow regarding the fire and rescue service. Thank you very much.
the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs to reply.
Mr. Speaker, difficulty. Because in fact the services currently conducted by the Ghana Fire Service is twofold, but really one. Extinguishing fire, rescuing people, and providing a humanitarian service in many respects. So in practice, they basically doing that, notwithstanding the opposition and support for DHA. The famous German philosopher Feuerbach said that practice is the criterion of truth. And if we agree with that, and I see no reason why we shouldn't, then the truth is that the fire service is performing certain duties and responsibilities, which in practice tells us the truth about this organization. And that is the sole criterion, Mr. Speaker, for which we should support this bill. What is unusual so far this month is the predisposition by the opposition to put party rather than country first. The position of the opposition is obviously a party position, and not a country position. It cannot be otherwise. It cannot be otherwise, because if this was a country position, the opposition would have supported the meeting. But this position of the opposition is clearly a party political position, which tells me that they are putting the party position before the country's position. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are at a situation now. We are in a position now, Mr. Speaker, where we are seeking to carry out these reforms.
So I'm hearing the debate, but some of these recommendations came out of the Discipline Forces Commission's report, which a special select committee.
I was saving that vignette. I was saving that vignette for the next year.
Hasn't been. But I've actually sent for a copy of the report. Go ahead.
I was saving that vignette for the last bill. You can't show everything on this. But I'm happy that you have get it. So, Mr. Speaker, we are at a very interesting junction of our country's history, where we are seeking, understanding all the turmoil and politics and where the money should go for mining falls and where the money should go for the airport, or where the money should go, wherever we should go, what the case may be. The war has to go, the country has to move forward. So I wish, Mr. Speaker, to commend this bill for you and to say that supporting this bill would mean putting our country first rather than putting politics first. And that the fire service would welcome support by this House for the stage. Because it would mean so many things in addition to the service. More resources, more support, more external assistance. And therefore wish to commend this bill to the House. Now, to the
Thank you, all members. I now put the question, and that is that the bill be read a second time. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against? No. Division has been sought. We have the division bill, and then we'll take the vote. Proceed, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Williams? Ms. Marcio? Ms. Marcio? Dr. Ramaya?
No.
Mrs. Gavidolo? Mrs. Hughes? Mr.
Thank you. All members, the division haven't been requested and the vote taken. The clerk advises that 32 members voted against the second reading, the motion for the second reading of this bill. 27 members voted for the second reading. The motion is therefore not carried. The bill will not be read a second time. All members, it is according to the National Assembly, the Chamber's clock is 20 minutes past 4. I think this is a convenient time for us to take the 1 hour recess. I remind members that we are going to have a simple but yet auspicious ceremony in the members' lawn, and notwithstanding the mood of the atmosphere, the appearance of division in this chamber, let us remember that we are all members who have taken an oath to serve our country, and we will recognize our sisters who have so served as we did last year, and try to invite you to participate in that ceremony without sunglasses on the Attorney General in a few minutes' time. Thank you very much.